What is up, everybody? Welcome back to GTA Online, and in this video I'm going to take a look at the second drip feed vehicle here on the game. So this is going to be the Western Powersurge, and I'm sure you guys can probably tell by first glance of this bike that it is indeed going to be electric because that obviously does not look like an engine, but nonetheless though this bike is going to cost you 1.6 plus million dollars to buy it, so it's going to be kind of expensive. I would say many players are probably going to look at other vehicles most likely before they buy this one, but the dash on it does look kind of cool. It's basically digital, so I kind of like that aspect to it. But the biggest thing is this bike actually going to be worth getting? And now moving over to the customization on the Power Surge. So one of the first things I actually saw with this bike is the fact that it's going to be on the cheaper side to customize it. I would say a lot of players are probably going to like that, but to be honest guys, there's really not much to this bike that also increases its traction. So let's add that to it, even though that really does not fit this bike whatsoever. It's way too big on the bottom there, but let's add the brakes to it. Moving down to the engine's only $6,700. I mean, I don't know we are actually upgrading with doing an engine upgrade on a battery. Maybe you're customizing the voltage. I honestly don't know. Let me know in the comments below, guys. But moving down to the fairings, though, is going to be the front headlight. Now, personally, I kind of like the one in the front here. I actually like how that one looks. Some of the others are kind of weird. This one can also be found on the Reaver and I believe one other bike as well. So that headlight piece is definitely not going to be new, I do not believe. But moving down to the other ones, that's also one you'd normally see on like a cafe racer, which this bike does kind of resemble one of those a little bit. That also makes this thing look like a transformer, so I'm not a big fan of that. Look how big the front of that is, bruh. That looks very weird. Let's move down to the frame upgrade now so you can have it painted, which honestly does look pretty cool, and I might have to do a regular like secondary frame color. I'm not gonna lie guys, I really don't know what color I actually want this thing to be, so I might have the frame the same as the primary. Moving down to the mudguards now is going to be the regular ones here, basically secondary and or primary. Then we're going to have the racing front, which is honestly oversized, which I have been noticing. Most of the upgrades on this bike do seem to be oversized. Here's the front seat now. There's actually a lot of these here, so you could do the stock with pattern, looks kind of cool. Let's go with that one. We have the vented, looks kind of cool. I'll actually add that to it. Then we have the other seat. We have like the textured one. Then we have that for like a passenger. I don't know how anybody would actually sit on the back of that. Moving over to the next one, we have the rib seat there. We have the pattern. Then we have the chop seat. That one actually looks kind of cool for this bike's model. Textured again. Then we have whatever this is. I really don't know what you'd actually use that for unless it was like a stunt bike. I've seen some bikes around having like a back piece of it like that. The guys who do wheelies, they normally have like scraper plates on the back of their bikes. So that could be what that is. But then again, the way the back end sticks out, that would be really hard to actually wheelie this thing all the way back. Moving over to the fuel tank though. Now obviously this thing is electric, so there's no actual gas in the vehicle besides, I believe, the oil that would go into the brakes and all that. Kind of funny how that actually works. But moving over to the street tank and or the cafe racer tank, I think do look kind of cool. Again, I don't know why, but I feel like many of the stuff on here is going to be kind of odd. So one thing I do kind of like though, guys, is the power tank here actually looks kind of cool. The main reason why I say that is this thing is going to be electric, so I will add that to it. I also think the electric fuel tank looks kind of cool on the bike as well, but I feel like that thing is insanely oversized. Like having the fairings on the side with that kind of matches, but it also looks so weird on the side, my goodness. But moving down to the lights, so add the headlights to it. I'm probably not going to add expensive lights to this bike because I don't really see myself using it all that much, but we're going to have the black stripes here, which I do kind of like that one a bit. We have the white ones. Moving down to Western. Then we have the Love Fist. Then we will also have the Lost MC after that. Then moving over to the Dazzle Camo. Not gonna lie, I actually kind of like how the camos look on the vehicles in the game. I would prefer to have more of those in the future with different vehicles. I feel like many players probably actually like the camos, but most of these do honestly look pretty awesome. I actually like the Patriot one on there as well. But moving over to the next thing is going to be the mirrors on the bike here. So there's only going to be one other one, which is going to be the race, which honestly I think do look a lot better. Anyone who does ride bikes and or are into bikes, I would say most people are going to agree. Many of the stock mirrors on bikes really do not look that good, my goodness. But moving over to the next thing is going to be the mudguards, which is not a lot of these. I'm probably going to go with the primary once again on there, and After thinking about it for a second, I actually decided to put the primary front mudguards on the bike as well. I feel like that would match it better. You also are going to get that stripe on it as well. But moving down over here, guys, to the next item is going to be the color. So for this, I'm most likely going to leave the bike completely stock as it is. I mean, I really don't see a point of changing this thing. I kind of like the white and black on there. I was going to do yellow, and then I was like, I don't think that's going to look that good. And honestly, it really didn't. But wanting to sell it, you guys won't even get $1 million for the bike, so expect to lose about $600,000 if you do buy this. I have a weird feeling this is probably going to be like a buyer beware because I don't think a lot of players are going to want to buy this bike because it's honestly pretty expensive. But let's add some tires to it real fast here and or rims, then I will take this thing out and do a quick test drive and take a look at this. So now taking an outside look of the new Powersurge here, I did actually want to head over into the city just a little bit. I didn't want to immediately leave from where the arena was because I do tend to do that with some of the cars in the other videos, but nonetheless, guys, I would say first impressions, I'm honestly really shocked with how fast this bike is, so it's obviously not going to make a sound. I mean, it is electric, and I will get into more of that here in a second with how that works because I actually do ride bikes in real life. I don't know if I'd actually ride an electric motorcycle with some of the calls that I have had with my bike, but let's go ride this thing right now and see what this thing can do. So right off the bat, the first thing I noticed, guys, look at the speed this thing has. My goodness. So I was kind of confused on it at first because it didn't actually have a lot of speed. Like the bar for the top speed wasn't that high on this. And after jumping on it, my goodness, this thing actually like skirts. It's kind of insane. So I'll do a stop right here. Let's see. I would actually say overall this could possibly be one of the best bikes in the game. Now the main reason why I say that is it does have really good traction as well. It doesn't seem to like want to lose itself. Then again, most of the bikes really don't struggle in pretty much any terrain. For example, the Hakucho can basically climb a mountain, so I wouldn't say that's going to be a bad thing either. But what's kind of weird is the regular Hakucho does like 121 miles an hour, and from what I could see so far with the Powersurge, I actually believe this bike is going to be faster. Like, look at this. I really thought this bike was going to be insanely slow because for one, like I said, the top speed bar was very low, but my goodness guys, this thing flies around the city at 130 miles per hour. Once again, the odometers can be wrong on the vehicles, but I would actually say by the way this bike is moving, my goodness, this thing is going to be really fast. I would say many players might end up picking up this bike just because, but I would definitely say $1.6 million is kind of high, but then again, oh my goodness. So let's act like that did not just happen. My goodness, that was awful. But nonetheless, though, one thing I'm really shocked about is the fact that this bike is going to be this fast. I mean, I'm flying through the city at like 135 miles an hour. This might actually be the new fastest base bike in the game. Now, the main reason why I said base is obviously the Hakucho is going to be in-house special work. So that thing does like 160. I don't think you could actually make this bike go in Special Works Garage because for one, I don't know how that would actually make any sense unless you add like another battery to it or something, but let's go on the highway with it right now and see what it can do. And I'm really zoomed in really far on the dash here, basically like leaning down, trying to see what the bike can actually get to. So 142 on the highway, 144. My goodness, this thing is absolutely insane. Now, I'm sure you guys have probably noticed in some of the time trial videos that I do that I actually run the Reaver quite often. The main reason for that is the Reaver can wheelie basically forever. That bike actually does like 170 plus miles an hour in a wheelie, and if you guys have to do a time trial on the highway, that thing is going to be a really great option. What's also funny is I have a feeling the Powersurge here is also going to be a really good option for time trials. The main reason, not only is this bike going to be insanely fast, but I was noticing the handling on it also seems to be really good. So for $1.6 million, it might actually be worth it. But honestly, guys, the biggest thing is I would say it's probably going to come down to preference because if I had a choice, I would probably still buy the Hakucho over this bike, even though this thing is actually going to be faster. For a base bike in the game doing around 140 miles an hour on the flat ground of a highway over here in Sandy Shores, I'm honestly really surprised with that. Like, I was not expecting this thing to be quick. I thought it was going to do like 115 or something, but my goodness, it shot right up to 130 plus. Look at that. 140 miles an hour on flat ground. That's actually insane. So I figured I would come over here by the tunnel once again like I normally do with the vehicles. Now let's do a launch with this bike right now. So right off the bat, one thing I also noticed is it doesn't have a lot of wheel spin. I was noticing that with the Hakucho, that's probably why that bike is so good. But look at that, guys, 139 miles an hour, basically like it's nothing. I am honestly really shocked. I really thought this was going to be like a buyer beware type of video with this bike, but you know what? I would actually say go pick this thing up if you guys do want a new bike and or something fast. Like maybe you're wondering if you want the Hakucho, but I would say this bike is going to be faster than it. And I have a weird feeling many players are probably going to start running this over the Hakucho mainly because it's going to be that much faster. I will do some testing with it in the future with like future like time trials and stuff, like for example doing the Up Chiliad time trial and or like the Mount Gordo. I would say that would be a great way to test this thing out. Now what's kind of funny is if you guys were to do any of the time trials on the highway, I would say this bike is going to be insanely good. And the main reason why I say that is I don't know many vehicles in the game that can actually cruise at 140 miles an hour constantly. So not only is this going to be one of the new fastest bikes, it might also be one of the new fastest vehicles in GTA Online. This thing's actually kind of close to keeping up with some of these Special Works vehicles, and one thing I did notice is it has basically the exact same top speed as the Cyclone 2, which is also going to be in the Special Works garage as well. But nonetheless, guys, let me know your thoughts on this bike in the comments below, and to be honest, I am actually really shocked with how fast and how good this bike actually is, and I would definitely recommend taking a look at it. I would say $1.6 million for this kind of power is honestly pretty dang good.